This is Eric Guido of the Morrell Wine Group, and today I am sitting here with Andrea Sottimano of the Sottimano Winery in Neve Barbaresco. Welcome.
Thank you.
I think we should start off by talking about the beginnings of Sottimano and what inspired your father, Rino, to begin making Barbaresco, as well as acquiring crus at a time when most people were simply farmers.
Well, my father started in '69, the winery started in '69. Before that, he studied ecological school in Alba. He didn't have, at the time, didn't own a vineyard. So he simply worked for another winery to have the money to buy his own vineyard. And he did little by little. So the first vineyard he acquired was in '69. He always believed in the fact that, like in Burgundy, at the time my father didn't travel to Burgundy, but he always believed, like in Burgundy, that difference of soil, it's automatically producing a huge difference into the taste of wine.
So it was always a single vineyard cru designated Barbaresco since the very beginning.
At the very beginning was Barbaresco, was not the name Cotal, but starting from the 676, we started with Barbaresco Cotal.
And in the sequence of acquiring vineyards, obviously Coto was the first,
Yeah.
and then it goes through Paiore.
Paiore, Fausoli, Basarini. So this is the lineup. The first one is Cotta in the 60s, and then we purchased it little by little every more. Now we have almost 3 hectares in the Cotta. Paiore was the same. We used to have half hectare in the 70s. We bought another half hectare in the 80s. We bought another half hectare in the beginning of the 90s. Cora was like it's like that because it sounds funny, but sometimes it's just that someone is simply leaving or maybe is past, so the new generation is. We're talking about half hectare, a portion of a hectare, and it's like a monopoly.
So you enter the winery around 94.
94.
But you train in Burgundy, which going that far back isn't a very common thing. How did that come about? And can you tell us a little bit about your experience in Burgundy?
Well, first thing in Burgundy, I was lucky enough to have friends, not really into wine, but friends just living around Burgundy, that introduced me to top producers. So I remember the first day in Burgundy, I was really like 96 back then, 97, don't remember exactly the name, very young. And the first day I visited Emmanuel Rouget, Dugapi, Angaro, Lafont. I mean, this guy was introduced, and not just tasting, but really go inside and talk with them about vinification, talk about that. It was crazy for me. And probably 2005 is the first vintage that I can say we are almost organic. That started the way from now we're certified organic. But the first visit there was amazing. Still now I remember you see the beautiful vineyards, plenty of flowering, the soil is soft, that's important. Every time I was visiting the vineyards, I just checking the soil was like soft, it was perfect.
Prior to you coming back from Burgundy, was your father using large casks? Did you bring in the smaller French wood?
Oh no, my father was using both barrique and cask. What we tried to change was the barrique. At the time, the barrique were bought we bought barrique. We didn't really choose which kind of barrique. In Burgundy, I met François Frère, and it was funny because every producer I loved, I was looking at which kind of barrique I was, and that was François Frère, the FF, and the barrique. Everyone, from Rouget to Dugas to Ravenot. So I was there, and I visited this guy, and it was an amazing visit. He's a great guy because I was expecting to, a tonnellerie, what they produce barrique, I was expecting to see the wood. I didn't see any. We were in a room like this, and we tried the wines all day. That was funny because this guy said, "So show me your wines." And he wanted to let me taste. The wine he made was a barrique from Burgundy, from California at the time. It was a funny way to understand. And then he wanted to come to winery before to produce the barrique. So he came in Piedmont. We tried the wines. He went down in the cellar. We talked about the vinification, and it was fun. It was all day, and at the end of the day, we talked about which kind of wood, and they said, I was asking. So now I was translating for my father at the end of the day. Now we can buy the barrique after your visit, after my visit, after 3 visits. I mean, I think we know each other quite well. They say, can I buy the barrique now? I say, yeah, sure. I mean, every year in August, he called me and said, this year you have a fantastic wood from Blois, from Fontainebleau. I will use it for you. It's good for you, of course. I say, yeah, fantastic.
And the percentage of new wood in the mix in the winery is actually quite low, and has actually gotten lower over the course of time.
Absolutely. We started in 2003-4 with 40% of new wood. Now we lower it down to 10%.
Well, it sounds like this has been a constant evolution, and this evolution is continuing. But is there a point in the time that you've been managing the winery that you felt, I've made the right choices, I'm very happy with what I'm doing right now, this is the style of Sottimano? Can you put your finger on a vintage or a range of vintages when the wine came to a point that you were happy with it? Not to say you didn't want to continue improving it, but happy with the style that you found Sottimano?
16.
2016.
16. And 16 and is the vintage where everything collides.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when all the factor, everything was at the right place. So the vintage was great. That's out of question. 2016 is probably one of the best vintage ever. There is not a huge gap between, I don't know, 13 and 16. But in 16, there is something that you feel that the wines are a bit more soft, a bit more elegant. There is something about the difference in wines from one wine to each other that is huge. So,
Well, it says a lot that you changed the actual winemaking process to be more like the Cora across the range. I mean, will you begin releasing later, or do you simply feel that the other vineyards speak differently through the winemaking process? Can you tell us a little bit about the differences between these vineyards?
absolutely. Cura, beside the vinification, has always been a vineyard where the wines are more powerful, or more intense, or more tight. And that's happens. I know many producers that have vineyards like Cura, not in Cura, but in a place where there is a lot of limestone, chalks, or where the wines tends to be very tight at the beginning, and God only knows why. Honestly, it's because from Cotta to Cura, there is about, I don't know, 500 meters, maybe half a mile, but the wines are totally different.
Can you tell us a little bit about Payare?
Yeah. Well, first of all, Payare is a wonderful vineyard to see. You know, it's it's a vineyard that is like a valley, very long valley, and it's very high, so very windy. It's very steep, very steep. The two factors with the fact that it's very windy, so the temperature normally they're lower than normal, and the fact that it's very steep. That means for the erosion, for the water, it's great. All the wines produced in this region, this part of Treasure, it tends to be very, very, very elegant, very pure, very fine. The composition of the soil is limestone, chalk, schist, a little bit of clay, but just a little bit. All the wine produced, but from heaven. I have a bottle of, I tried a bottle of another producer, 74, and I tried that, and the Giovanni Moresco, who is from Piedmont, was Payare, like that. It's like a tobacco, sweet, spicy, cigar box, that kind of sweet spice and herbal notes that doesn't matter the timing, but that's a characteristic of the crew. And it's probably the most elegant Barbaresco we produce. Not by choice, that's how it is. It's a beautiful, elegant Barbaresco. In 16, these characteristics are really much more evident than the past.
And I had heard at one point that Payare actually makes up a large percentage of Gaia's Barbaresco blend.
Well, actually, Payare is 95% owned by Gaia. So it's basically, it could be a monopole. we are three producers that makes Piolet, but we are really a small portion. And I think Gaia produces the basic Barbaresco there. That's what he says, but I don't know. But it makes sense, because if you try his basic Barbaresco, reminds you of this elegance and this beauty, so probably that's what he makes. Yeah, but Gaia always owned Piolet. It's historical crew of his family, so it's always been there. The vines are very old. Here the vines are really very old.
So now looking back at past vintages, are there any vintages that are favorites of yours, or a specific crew mixed with a vintage that's a favorite of yours from Sottimano that collectors should be looking out for?
Well, again, 16.
Well, I mean, maturing vintages.
No, but 16 is for Piedmontese wine. I'm sure every producer in Piedmont you will talk about it. It's very excited about 16, because it's going to be a cornerstone for Piedmontese wines. Like it used to be, and that's never been, 2010. For 2010, for Piedmontese wine, it was like something different. The wines were, also historically, the winemaking, modern, traditional. In 2010, everything was from this direction, so everything changed in Piedmont in 2010. 13 is a wonderful vintage, so I really love 13 vintage. And going back, something more, I would say 2004. I like 2004. I was shaping up. 2004 in this moment, the drinking, great. It's the right balance between the power and the wine's a bit more tight. It's perfect now. Well, 99, 86, 89, 78. Probably these are the vintages that. 96 is my second vintage, and the wines are amazing. Sometimes with my father we tried the 96. Still now it's one of the greatest vintage in Piedmont. Probably for our state is still now one of the 3-4 best vintages.
So to wrap things up, what do we have to look forward to for the future of Sottimano? Any new projects, any new thoughts or inspirations in the winery?
No, basically it's not something new. Starting, it's like something began 20 years ago that we keep doing year after year. We're trying to not to do something new, but to I don't know how to say, but to evolve a little bit, to change a little bit, but not totally. Every year adjustment. Every try, there's a, like say that the harvest is like to have one shot every year to hit the target. That's tough, because you don't have another shot until next year. And that's the same, so we don't want to change anything. We just want to, we have something in mind, and we want to arrive there little by little.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today, Andrea. This has been very insightful. So in a world where Barolo just keeps getting more expensive and more difficult to find, and people are being turned on to Barbaresco and just how comparable, if not in many times better, than Barolo can be, Andrea Sottimano is making some of the best wines in the region that compete with the top names in the region. Thank you.
Thank you very much.